Yeah, you can proceed there.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Manish. Let me start.
As well. You can take it host.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yes. I'll start recording too. I'm leaving.
Yep. Done. Okay. Get started. So, to the continuity of our Friday session, we'll try to see how the cloud hierarchy or the how the any specific services are created in Azure. So while creating any specific service as well, there is very important aspect which we have to understand is your region. Right. So someone had also a question on Friday that why we need to select the right region or the nearest region. So we'll go through that insights as well. Um, Now, just to get started with, we'll refresh what we discussed. We'll refresh what we have gone through on Friday. So if anyone can help me, what was the cloud hierarchy which we discussed? Which component would come first and which component would come after that?
Subscription, resource,
Mhm.
resource.
Okay. Now, and what all you could say cloud components, which we have also discussed. We have three different cloud components as well, right?
And
IaaS,
Uh-huh.
uh, PaaS, Platform as Service, and Software as Service.
Okay, cool. So, see, you should never, in any case, if you're trying to learn cloud, in any case, if you're trying to understand the insights related to cloud, three components or three services are also same. I mean, they have that same importance. Now, once you understand that three services or three components, then the hierarchy of a cloud comes into picture, which is subscription, uh, same so resource group, and resources or services. Right. So let's try to again recall it, what we discussed and what all these components are. Right. So once you open this Azure portal, Microsoft Azure portal, it should always start with a subscription, right? For you folks, I've shown you how different you will get. You have three options, right? Your free trial, which starts with 30 days of that trial with 200 credits. You have the other option, which is pay as you go, the middle option, and the last one is your students option, right? Now, once you activate, it would first ask you to create a subscription. It would rather give you this option, and here you have to start adding your subscription. So you can add what you want. You can create your subscription here, and depending on your subscription, that 200 credits would be given, and post that it would be automatic pay as you go, or it's a paid subscription, right? So one individual can have multiple subscriptions, which is a common thing, right? So if, and why is that so? Because for a one single person, he might be part of separate teams, right? One team might have a different subscription, one team might have a different subscription, right? So that is one possibility. So one customer or one individual can have multiple subscriptions, which is a very common thing. So this is my subscription. I can end up creating one more subscription, which is beneficial if I want, right? So that is one possible thing. Now, once you click on that subscription, you will get the list of options here. Now, we have also discussed access control mechanism, right? What is access control mechanism? If you want to give access at subscription level, once you click on that subscription, you will get this access control. Now, here you can add an individual, here you can add a group of people as well. Right now, we discussed about an individual. let's suppose if I want to add this person, add as a role assignment, I need to select a particular role. Maybe I want to give a reader role, right? So if I click on reader role, there's this option called as select members. Now here I can select individual members. If not individual members, now it is very difficult, right? If you're adding every person, it is very difficult. Now let's suppose there is a team. There is one single team which is getting formed, a new team, right? So for that team, it is a team of 4 members, right? So for a particular team, there are 4 members. Now, as such, there will be 4 or 5 teams which are getting formed. Now, 4 or 5 teams means somewhere around 16 to 20 members, 4 to 5 members per team. So if for these 4 teams, there are 20 members. So all 20 members will raise an access. Now you have to, if you are working as a cloud admin, if you're working as a person who works on the cloud architect level role, you have to give all individual access to 20 members. It might be a subscription, it might be a resource group, or it might be individual resource. Now that is separate part. But if you want to give an access for all 20 members and so on, the group of people will getting added, right? It is not that only 4 teams will be created. Once a team is getting expanded, more and more people will join that particular team. It might be a development, testing, or a production support, whatever team it is. So in that case, if there are bulk members who are getting added to that specific hierarchy of a cloud, right? So what is best possible way? I mean, you can individually add people. That is not a big deal. But there is one component. Now people who are for Power BI, we have already discussed that as well. We can create a DL. Now, what is DL? It is a group, kind of a group. DL in simple terms is called as a distribute. It is called as a distributed list. Now, what is this distributed list? There will be a group created. For that group, you can raise an access. That particular individual can raise an access. So this group is already added here. Now, if I close this, see here, it is giving me an option user, group, or service principal. Service principal is our app ID. It is one of the standalone service, which we will be discussing in our Azure sessions going further. But you can add an individual user. You can add a group as well, right? If you have created any particular group, you can add that group as well with that possibility. Whomsoever gets an access to that group or distributed list, they will automatically access that particular subscription or a resource group. At whatever level you are giving an access, they can directly access it rather than individually adding that user. That is one possible way. So let me give you an example as well. Not sure if this is available, but let me see. Seems there is. I was trying to add a group, but it seems there is no group available as of now. The one which you are seeing at the topmost level, see 14th May test. So this 14th May test is nothing but a group. We just created a group. Now, if you're part of this group, how to raise access to this group, that's a separate process. But if you're part of this group, if there are 10 individuals, if there are 20 individuals, or if there are 50 individuals who are part of this group, every person will be able to access rather than individually adding them. Right. So here, once you click on the select member, it will list down all the groups, all the users who are already KSR domain. Every individual will be listed. Now, here, right? I mean, the count is restricted, but you can still search for that particular group or individual so that you can give an access to. And most of the companies, they follow this group or a distributed list, right? You need to raise access for the distributed list. Once you're added, there are different distributed lists. It is not that only one list will be created. There will be DL1. I'm just giving it a name. For this DL1, it would be a reader access. For DL2, it would be some contributor access, right? So there are multiple access or multiple roles which are available in Azure, right? One would be member access, or might be you have right, full access. Full access in the sense you can create or delete any particular resource or a service, even resource or a service group, even that possibility is there. So multiple groups can be created for multiple roles. And if you need an access, you can raise an access to that distributed list and you will be automatically getting an access, right? That cloud architect or admin should not go back and add you again individually. If that group is already added, you will automatically get an access. So this is one of the access control mechanism which is widely used in any companies, right? At subscription, resource group, or at resource level. Now we are at subscription level. If you scroll down, you have to extend this settings option. Inside this settings option, you will get a resource group, right? So you have full flexibility. If you want to create any resource group, you can go ahead and create a resource group. If you start a subscription, until and unless you use any resource, it will not charge you. Use in the sense there is some resource created in that subscription, only then it will charge you. Without any resource, it will not charge you. I'm talking about resource. If you create resource group also, it will not even charge you a single penny. Now, how? Let me go back. This is my subscription. Let me show you some insights. See, my subscription is active since long. I've been using this subscription for a very long duration. So if you see, for the month of August and September in 2024, there were some charges. Some 6,000. That means I frequently used. And prior to that also, in July and August, there were some charges. Post that, in March was the invoice date, but if you see the billing period, in January and February, I had used some 510 rupees. But still my subscription is active. I haven't deleted my subscription. Without even deleting my subscription, what I've done is I've kept my subscription, I've kept my resource group. Only thing is I have deleted the resources or services because I'm not using it. So it will not charge you. This 0.06 is for very minor. It is almost zero. It will not give you any specific bill. See, it is saying that due, but it hasn't deducted anything from my account. This is not a due. It's very small. It cannot be deducted from your card or your billing, whatever billing type you have added there. But you can still keep your subscription active. It will not charge you a single penny. Right? So that is how the processes are, adhered in any cloud service. Without even using any services or resources, you will not charge for a single penny inside a subscription. Now you can go ahead and create a subscription. You can go ahead and create a resource group. Nothing it will charge. But once you create and once you start creating resources in it, maybe you have created ADF, even though you do not use it, but ADF will start charging you 1 rupees or 0.50 paisa for one day. Even if you not use it, still it will charge you because some services are created in. If you create an ADF, somewhere it will occupy some storage, some services will be activated in the background. So that is how the charging, the billing happens. The charges will try to incur, right? So let me start creating a resource group. I already have a subscription. Let me start creating a resource group. Resource group, it's very straightforward. It will not ask you for any additional components. The only thing is it will ask you for the resource group name. Can we give user access to different tenant IDs to our subscription? From our point of view, our in this is not KSR, but in simple terms, if you have it's very good question, right? Can we give access to people who are from a different tenant? I'll simply say no. There is a possibility, but that possibility requires additional approvals, which is not a part of any cloud. So that's a separate process. But in simple terms, it is no. You cannot give access. That person has to be part of that tenant or a specific domain. From a different tenant, there is no possibility. Right. So let me give it a resource group name, any name, right? So our batch is June batch, right? Now, whenever I'm trying to give a resource group name, I use it RG at the end. June Fabric RG, maybe I'll use 2025. Now, one thing, whenever you are giving any specific name, that name should be unique. Yes, in Azure, that is how it happens. If you are giving a name to subscription also, that subscription name should be unique. Unique for you, no, unique for everyone. Inside that domain, specific domain, inside the tenant ID, it should have a unique name. So make sure if it is giving you a cross icon, right? Here it will give you cross. If that name is not available, here it will give you a cross. If the name is available, it will not throw an error. It is not throwing an error. Now, the most important part is region. Now, for resource group, you can create resource group anywhere, and you can create a resource in different region also, even that is possible. But the most important part is why there is why there is a necessity to select any specific region. For resource group, it is not that big deal. You can select any specific region you want, right? If I scroll down, let me select South India. There is no big deal, right? So it will take some time. Let's see if we have that possibility. Right? Nothing, no error. Let me go to next option. Next option. And at the last, this is how it should look like. This is what we mentioned. And let me click on create. Right? So it will start creating and created. Few seconds, right? It is not a big deal. Automatically created. Let me go to this resource group. Now, once you are into this resource group, it will ask you to create a specific resource or a service. Now, until and unless you get a good practice, I would always recommend you to start using the same way. Follow that same approach. Click on subscription, go to settings, click on resource group, try to create a resource group. If it's already created, click on that resource group. Once you're into a resource group, you need to follow this create. Now, whatever you want to create, you have full flexibility. Whatever services you want to create, you have full flexibility. So what I will do is let me start creating a data factory. I know I already have one of the data factory created, but I can create one more data factory, right? You can create two separate services, two same services separately. Now let me mention data factory. Right? It will give you so many options here, but this is the right one. Now, there is one more possibility. You can directly search for data factory here. You can directly search for data factory. So if you search data factory here, it will also list you all the services which are related to that. Now, what I have suggested is always go through that subscription, resource group, and resource hierarchy, because you will get used to that. You can directly search if you want to create a data factory here also, or maybe any specific service in the global search. This is your global search. You can create or you can search whatever you want from this global search. Right, so let me click on this data factory. Let me click on create. Now here, see, Once you click on create, automatically under what subscription, under what resource group, everything will automatically come. Now, what is the name? What is the name? June 2025 ADF. I want to create it. So this name is unique. Oh, this name is already taken. Even though I might have not created it, but this name should be unique across your tenant. Now, if it is not unique, you can give it a certain different name, right? Let me mention Fabric. Still, no. This name is available. See, that green tick is coming. That means this name is available. Now, the region. Now, why there is an importance of this region? One thing which I've highlighted or one thing which I've discussed on Friday is your downtime. Right? Cloud also has a downtime, right? Every component which is available. Now I'm just, talking about, I'm not only talking about any IT services. Even if you are a human being, at the end of the day, you need a good sleep, right? The same way, if it's a cloud infrastructure also, somewhere it will need some downtime. Downtime in the sense at that time there will be some updates going on, or if there is some new feature which needs to be available, or a particular rest period for that cloud. So for every cloud, not on every day you will get a downtime, but somewhere it will have a downtime here and there, once a week, once a month, that there is a possibility. So in that case, if you are from India, now the current time in India is 8:30, right? And US is somewhere in the evening hours, right? Even if it's a EST, moreover, it's a midnight. So any specific time zone you're considering of US, for US, you can use a downtime now. For India, still, 8:30 is not a particular working hour, but somewhere around 10 a.m. in the morning, at that particular time, if you're considering, US will be still in the evening hours. So there can be downtime for US related region. But for India, it should be active, right? You cannot have a downtime now. Whereas if you, if you fast forward plus 12 hours, right, somewhere in the evening, 8:30 or 9 for India, but morning hours for US. So there can be downtime for India, and there can be for, for US, it shouldn't be any downtime because it's a working hour for US. So this is one more, this is most important concept for a region. Along with that, how the cloud infrastructure is. We have seen how the subscription is, how the hierarchy is, but how this information, whatever you're trying to create inside a cloud, how that information will be stored inside cloud. That is also what we need to understand, right? So let's explore that option as well. Right. So let me click on Azure regions. I'm just searching Azure regions. Let's see if we are getting that option. Now, how the information is stored inside any cloud? Cloud has multiple data centers, right? A cloud has multiple data centers. Now, what is data center? Some might already know it, but data center is where your information will get stored. Even cloud has a very big infrastructure. What you are trying to create in the cloud, it will be created somewhere, it will be stored somewhere. It requires some storage. But where that storage is kept, that storage is kept in your data set. So every region, a particular region which you're trying to select might have one data center or more than one data center. I've selected South India, right? While creating that specific resource group, I've selected South India. Now, there is a data center in South India in Hyderabad for Azure. So in Hyderabad, there is only not one data center for Azure. There are 3 data centers which are available for Azure. So one region can have multiple data centers. There is that possibility, multiple DCs or data centers. Right? So how that data set, what is this data center? In simple term, if I'm trying to create a storage account, I know this storage account is virtual for me, but somewhere it will be stored, right? Where it will be stored? It will be stored in this data set. There might be one data center or multiple data centers for a one region. That is a different process. It depends how heavy, how many people are creating multiple services inside that data center. Depending on that, if that size of the data center is not suitable, they will try to create one more data center. It all depends on the person or a company who is managing this cloud. So Microsoft will manage how many data centers should have for this particular region. For South India, we may only have 3 data centers. But if you go with US, it might be 300, it might be 400 data centers as well for one region, because that is how vast the US data, the US region is. So how the data center is, where that information will be stored, let me give you an idea. See, it will start creating a globe, your world map, and it will give you where there are data centers available. See, these fluorescent dots or light blue dots are your data centers. Right? This is West US 2. This is West Central US. This is West US 3. And if I go back, see, this is a Canadian East data center. Canada Central data center. This East US was the very first region and data center which was with which the Azure started the business. East US. It is somewhere near to New York or New Jersey. It is somewhere near to that. So if I click on this East US, it is in Virginia, not even New York. See, this was the very first data center which was opened in 2014. So in this data center, there are multiple available zones. And in every zone, there are multiple data centers. This is not a data center you can call. This is East US is a region. Inside this region, there are multiple zones. That means there are 3 zones, and every zone will also have a separate data center. Right? So how this information is bifurcated is, this is like your banking system. Right? Your bank has a headquarter. Your bank has regional offices, and your bank has zonal offices, and your bank has branches. So similarly, for Microsoft Azure, there is a region, there is a availability zone, and under that availability zone, there are multiple, data centers. So this was the first data center which that specific Microsoft Azure has opened the business. If you see any other data centers, or maybe any other regions rather, this is East US 2. See, this was opened in 2012. Oh, I thought maybe East US 1 was the first, but this is first, it seems. But somewhere East US was the first with which the business started. They might have changed the names with 1 and 2, but these are all the data centers which are available with this blue dots. So you can see wherever the data centers are. Now for India, so we have somewhere here in the South India, and one is this in the Central India. Central India is in Pune. This is in Pune. See, location is in Pune. And let me click on South India. This is in Chennai. We have one data center in Hyderabad also. This is India South Central. Now this is coming soon, but this is still active. As of now, this is active. We have 3 data centers which are available, which are running, but the information is not clearly available. That's the reason it is coming soon. I have a doubt it is not, this globe is not yet updated, but still you can explore this, how and what kind of regions are available across the globe for Azure. Right? Looks something interesting. Now, if you want to take a tour of your data center, how a data center looks like, it will give you a tour as well. Say this is publicly available. I'm not using a website which is restricted, or I've not logged in any specific website, which I can only view. This is publicly available, right? This is how a data center looks like. So if you enter any specific data center, so it will take some time to open this, refresh this, right? Right. Every data center has multiple. Let me start exploring it. So this is your lobby of your data center. Once you enter a data center, this is how a lobby looks like, right? This is all your lobby. Table 360 degrees. Now, once you click on operation room, where all your information will be stored. Right. So let's explore the operation room. Operation means a monitoring room. How your data center is working. See, if one of the single wire which is getting cut, or maybe it is removed, your complete data center, I mean that specific data center might go down. Right. So that is how minute things has to be managed, and all that things will be managed from the operations. Will be a people who will assess this operation room. So there is this mechanical area. Mechanical area is where you have all the multiple servers kept. Servers and your storage accounts. All this information will be kept there. Right. So if you click here, this is your mechanical area, and all the servers are kept inside this container-like structures. So if you enter the server room, what does the server room looks like? How does it look like? This is the primary area where all your information is stored. See, these are all your storage services. I mean, storage in the sense, disks, hard disks, and multiple information can be stored here. And these are all connected via multiple servers. Right? He's the person who is managing. So these are all a kind of dummy information, but still, you can explore this. Enter the circular center. Circular center. Let's see what is the circular center. Inside the server, what is the circular center? There might be a person who is managing this, some complete that server setup, right? That specific area. This is your circular center. These are all your servers, and there might be some person who is managing all this. So you can visit this website. If you click on list of Azure regions, it should open this. And here it will give you, rather, it should open this. And here, once you click, you will see Azure geographies. Once you click on Azure geographies, you will get an option here. Scroll down, explore Microsoft data centers. So once you explore it, it will open this tab and you can see all this information which I've been trying to show you now. Right. And along with, specific region, there are some other dots also, right? Small dots. These are all connectors. There is this connector. These are all connector dots. This is a network POP. Right? These are all connector dots. Now, every data center should be connected with some information or something, right? How they are connected via underground wires also. There is a possibility. So even that possibility is there. Now, the big question here is, you are seeing most of the data centers are towards which are towards the sea, right? Which is connected to a seashore, right? If you see any specific data center which are almost connected to seashores, some of them are in between, but most of them are connected to the seashore. Why? Because see, even for India, this South India and Central India is anyways in Pune, but there is no sea or ocean for Pune. But most of the data centers are located towards sea. Why? Because this image, you can get a good idea. What Microsoft is doing is, I mean, if you want to create a specific data center, you need you need some area, right? You need to purchase some area, or maybe you have to take it on a lease. Even Microsoft doesn't know how long you can take it on a lease, right? Until and unless that specific area is good enough and people are adding that area as a region, they can create or they can take a lease. So for creating one specific data center or a specific region related data center, you might require 2 to 3 acres of land, right? You might require 2 to 3 acres of land. Now, if you're considering to lease or if you're considering to purchase a land also, how costly that land is. So you need to manage the land as well along with your data set. Now, what people have think is what Microsoft or maybe even Amazon or any other cloud service provider like GCP as well, they are trying to create that data centers with only 1 acre. They'll purchase 1 acre or half an acre. In that half acre, they will manage all the connectivity, but their data centers are all created at the seashores, your beach area, something near to that. So they will dump their data centers underground like this, right? Which is, I mean, how they do is it will save costing, right? Rather than purchasing a very long 2 3 acre land, they can purchase only half an acre or small land also. From there, it is all connected via wires. This all data centers are connected via wires. There will be very large cables which are connected to that nearest location, which is underground, right? I mean, this data centers will be underwater, and these are all connected with that seashore area which you can manage, right? A small area. So every company is nowadays using this underwater data centers. But even see, Microsoft finds underwater data centers are reliable, practical, and use energy sustainability or sustainability. Why? Because it will save money. And the most important part is, I mean, you're not occupying a very large area, right? Even that is beneficial. So exploring cloud is very interesting. If you explore more and more about cloud, you will get more and more insights. So a person who is an electrical engineer, a person who is an electronics engineer, if you are very keen to work in your own field rather than jumping to IT field, you can work in data centers. Even that possibility is there. Now coming back to our discussion, why the region is important. One thing is, if you select the nearest region, it is very beneficial that, I mean, you can select East US, there is no problem in that. But it is very beneficial if there is a downtime. Downtime is the most important aspect. So let me select my own region, right? I'm from India, so I can go back and create any specific, or I can select any specific region, South India or Central India. Let me select Central India. Where is this? Now there is this version 2. There is no option to select any other version. Let me click on next. See, whatever options are available, select and go with that option. Public endpoint. Next. Next. This is review and create. It will review whatever information you have mentioned. Everything looks good. Let me click on create. So once I start creating it, it will give you an option deployment in progress. So this is a service, right? This is a resource which I'm trying to create. Resource or a service, anything, I mean, one and the same. So this is still deployment in progress. Deployment succeeded. That means the ADF is created. That ADF, which is a resource or a service, it is created. Right? If I click on this, inside this resource group, there is this service which I've created. Now, if I click on this service, it will open that service. What is the service? Azure Data Factory. So if I want to open Azure Data Factory, always launches in a studio. A separate studio will be launched. So if I click on this launch studio, this is how Azure Data Factory will be launched. right? So our primary aim here for this course is to learn Azure Data Factory. So we will start with basics of Azure Data Factory, why it is important, what all components are present inside the data factory. Components of a cloud. We have seen hierarchy of a cloud, but how does that components are present in Azure Data Factory as a separate service, right? So once you click on this specific data factory, see you have an option called as access control. My bad. There was this network issue, it seems. Okay, so you can give access at the resource or a service level. If you want to give an access for the Azure Data Factory here, right? You have this access control mechanism. You can add a role assignment and you can give an access. Now, once I have opened this Azure Data Factory Studio, this is the exact UI of this Azure Data Factory. Right, this is the exact UI of the Azure Data Factory. Now, what all components, I mean, how does this Azure Data Factory work? In simple terms, service number one, this is ADF, Azure Data Factory. Now, what is this Azure Data Factory used for? It is for ETL, right? Our primary usage for this Azure Data Factory is ETL service. If you want to use some extraction, transformation, and loading of data from one location to different location, that is the primary use case of this Azure Data Factory. Now, if you are using a cloud, you will get to know what is cloud component, what is the hierarchy, and how do you create an individual resource. Whereas if I directly log into the Fabric, now PowerBI.com is also part of Fabric, right? It is also part and parcel of Fabric. Fabric is also one service which we have already seen. So if you want to use Fabric, with that Fabric, if you want to create a pipeline, a data factory pipeline, there you need not create a data factory a service separately because all the services in Fabric are defaultly created. Fabric itself is a service. So whatever you want inside that Fabric, all that services are default available. Create a Fabric. Once you create a Fabric, all that services or resources are default available. Okay, these services are default available. The only thing is you need to create a workspace. If you create a workspace which is compatible with that Fabric environment, you can go ahead and create all the Fabric services here. Whichever service you want, you can go ahead and create that service inside a Fabric. Right. So for cloud, you are getting hierarchy, you are getting complete organization of a cloud, right? How the cloud works, what all data center is, what is region is. So this is the additional benefit of learning individual or standalone services in cloud rather than directly jumping to Fabric, right? I could have started with Fabric. I could have said, right, I let me create a workspace, let me start creating a pipeline. But if I directly start with Fabric, Fabric UI is not great. It doesn't follow this hierarchy process. It will not give you an option for any region. At whatever region that Fabric is created, all the resources which are part of Fabric will be created under that same specific region only. Right? So this Fabric itself is a service. Under that Fabric, if whatever services are there, that are all defaultly available. So you need not create it. Right? So the one best option or one reason which I've shown you is directly do not jump to Fabric. The UI is not great. You will never get what is the hierarchy in that Fabric. It is not easy to understand as well. One who knows some Power BI, okay, they want to create a workspace. Under that workspace, change that license to Fabric trial or a Fabric license. Only then you can create your Fabric related services or components there. Now, the UI of ADF, right? This is the complete UI. Now, there is this option towards left. You are getting some window, right? You can expand it. You are default in the home tab. You will get author tab. Now, what is this author tab? This is where the development happens. In the author tab, you will get your edit option, right? This is your edit option kind of. So you can edit, create whatever you want. You can do this. This is your development tab. What is monitor tab? Whatever you have developed, you can monitor it, right? Even this monitor option is also available in Power BI to monitor how your report refreshes are going on. So how your pipelines are running, what is that refresh, whether it succeeded, failed, all that can be monitored within this monitor tab. Now there is one more tab called as manage. Now what is this manage? If you want to create some components which are related to ADF, you can create it here. Dependent components. And the last option is your learning center. Now, one who uses any specific Microsoft services, for every service, there is a learn document. For Power BI, in Power BI also for every individual component, right? You are learning something new in Power BI. Maybe RLS, maybe incremental refresh. For every component which is part and parcel of Microsoft, there will be a learn document. The same is for ADF, right? If you click on this quick start or if you click on view all tutorials, anything related to ADF, all the tutorials will be available here. See, Azure Data Factory tutorials. These are all your tutorials related to Data Factory. So there are multiple other components. You need to click on that and it will give you the information for all that components. So try to understand. Home tab is, this is your home tab. You will get some icons here. Home tab. Ingest, orchestrate, transform, configure SSIS. I might have said at the first or few starting sessions that what you will be learning in ADF, one who already knows SSIS, for them it is very easy to grasp because SSIS is a legacy system. The upgraded version of SSIS is your ADF. SSIS UI was also a bit complex, right? It was not that straightforward, but ADF is very straightforward, easy to understand. So even you can integrate your SSIS with the ADF. You can combine that. So most of our time will be spent in this author tab because this is where development happens. This is where the development happens. Now I'll take a pause. Any questions until now? Any questions? In case of Fabric, you will get only this tab, author only. There is no monitor tab. There is nothing in the Fabric. I mean, you have to manually go back and see whether it succeeded or not. So benefit of going with standalone service rather directly jumping to Fabric. Fabric is good. If you compare, it is good. I'm not saying it is very bad. The thing is, there are limitations in Fabric. It is not completely, if you compare with standalone services, it will be nowhere related, near to that also. Okay, so if there are no questions, we are default in the author tab. Let me minimize this last window. Now here also you can minimize it, this window. Even this you can minimize. Now there are some list of components which are available. Go ahead. Someone had a question.
Can you tell me what is availability zone?
This is not important for us. What is availability zone? I've given you an example. If you are talking about a banking system, right? Any specific bank, SBI. SBI has its head office in Mumbai, right? But SBI also has regional offices in every state capital. Like if you are from Gujarat, you will have Ahmedabad, right? Regional office in Ahmedabad. If you are from Telangana, regional office will be Hyderabad. If you're from a specific, Madhya Pradesh, you might have regional office from the biggest city in Madhya Pradesh, might be Indore or might be Bhopal. But along with these regional offices, there will be some zonal offices. What are zonal offices? Every district will have one zonal office, right? In that state, there can be 20, 30, 50 districts. So every district will have a zonal office. And you will have multiple branches under that zones. So that is how the hierarchy works in cloud. Availability zone is one of the zonal. You can say it's a zonal, right? Something related to zone. Now coming to the ADF. What is ADF? What all components are present in ADF? We have seen components in cloud, but in ADF also there are different components. What all components are present? Let me list down the components first. Components in ADF, which we need to understand. The most important component is your pipeline. Second is your activity. Third is your trigger. Fourth is your, see, if I go back, here all the components are listed, right? Pipeline is there, data set is there. Data set. Data set is one of the component. Now, along with data set, there is one more component called as linked service. Let us restrict it here. Linked service, and there is one more component called as integration runtime. We will discuss this integration runtime at the last. Last in the sense, once we get a very good grasp on the other components of ADF, we will discuss this integration runtime at the last. So someone should not come up to me that what is integration runtime in tomorrow's session or day after tomorrow's session. I haven't understood it. We haven't started. Now let's understand these components first. Now what all components are? One is pipeline, one is activity, one is trigger, one is dataset, one is linked service. Now, if a person is very new to this area, for them it is very difficult to understand what does this each component do. What is the behavior of this component? So let's try to take an example, right? A very easy example. I have a cupboard here. This is cupboard 1. And there is one more cupboard. So 2 cupboards inside my house. What I want is there are some important papers or some components which I've kept here in the cupboard 1. So I want to move these components from cupboard 1 to cupboard 2. There will be a person, right? I am managing it. There is this person. So what process would you follow? That person will go to this cupboard, open this cupboard with a key, right? There will be a key for this cupboard. They'll try to take whatever items are important. And there might be multiple components which are kept in. The only component which are important, which I want to move from one location to a different location, that person will take that components. He will go to this. Here also, he will try to use that key. Right? For cupboards, there are keys, security. Open this cupboard. He'll place it somewhere. But in between, what he has selected the files which he wants to only move, right? There can be 20 files here, or there can be 20 components here. But only 5 components he has selected and he has moved to this cupboard 2. So there is a mechanism going on, right? You have to understand that mechanism here. If you understand this mechanism, you will be easily able to understand the ADF. What is the primary use that? Most of you know ADF is used for ETL, but what is that component for? What all that components are used for? Let's understand, right? We have seen an example, right? A person wants to move some important components from cupboard 1 to cupboard 2. He will, follow whatever processes we have discussed. He will follow that process. So let's take an example of ETL here, right? There is some ETL happening, right? From one location to different location, there is some ETL happening. So this is your source. This is your destination or target, whatever you give it a name, target. So if a person is trying to open this source, this cupboard with a key, this is your source, this is your destination. How he will open that cupboard? He will open that cupboard with a key. So that key is available. That key component, you can call it as a linked service. Linked service, what it will do is it will store the credentials of that source. Right? You are connecting to a source, you are connecting to a cupboard. That key will open that cupboard, right? Key means what? It will store the credentials. That credentials are called as linked service. Now, if you want to save that information into the target or destination, this cupboard also, you need to have a key, right? So there will be one more linked service. This is your source linked service. This is your destination linked service or a target linked service. Your key credentials are kept. Username, password, whatever login mechanism is there, all that login mechanism is stored inside this linked service. So there is a source and destination, right? You can call this source as a data set, source data set. This is source data set and this is destination data set. Right? We have seen two components. One is data set, one is linked service. Now, if you want to move this information, right, some components from this cupboard 1 to cupboard 2, that is source data set to destination or sink. Sometimes destination is also called as target and sink also. So if you want to move from source data set to the sink data set, you require a linked service to open this and you require a linked service to open this. But in between, there will be some logic written, right? What is that logic? That I only want 5 components out of all 20 components which are kept. So where do you write that logic? That logic is written inside, this is the logic. That logic is written inside an activity. This is your activity. And all this is connected via single pipeline, which is called as a pipeline. A pipeline is from start to end. Source data set to the destination data set, linked service, activity, pipeline. I'll take a pause. Any questions on this? Linked service is your key. Data set is your cupboard. Whatever logic, whatever files you're trying to take, that is your activity. And all this is connected via one single component, which is pipeline from start to end. Any questions on this? Okay. So if there is no question, as a human being, we are manually taking the files, right? But ADF, not every time you can manually run that pipeline and logic, right? You can schedule that. For Power BI refresh also, you can schedule a report refresh, right? So you can schedule this pipeline. So that scheduling is called as a trigger. With the help of trigger, you can schedule at whatever time you want to run that. That scheduling component is called as a trigger. Let me go back. We discussed pipeline, we discussed activity, we discussed trigger, we discussed data set, we discussed link service. How much time did it took me to discuss all this? 5 minutes. So that is how easy the components of ADF are. Anyone who is still confused what is what? Right, a very easy example. A person moves some files from one cupboard to another cupboard. Whatever logic that person is using in between, that is activity. He opens both the cupboards with the key. Key is your link service. Your source cupboard is your source data set. Your destination cupboard is your destination data set. And with all this, there is a connectivity from start to end. That is your pipeline. But you are manually doing it. You want to automate it. How do you automate? With the help of trigger. Now, there will be some people who are very eager to understand what is that integration runtime. Very small, one single line explanation I'll explain. In ADF, not every component will be present within that cloud. Some component would be coming from on-premise. Some might be coming from a different location. So if you want to connect components which are over and above, out of the cloud, you need to have that integration. You need to have that connectivity. For them, that integration runtime is beneficial. Right? There will be on-prem SQL servers. You want to connect that on-prem SQL servers. You need to create an integration runtime because it is not a part of cloud. You want to connect with the cloud services, default, there will be one runtime which is available, which is self-hosted. Now, self-hosted means you are manually managing it. There are three different integration runtimes. Once we go to that runtime, integration runtime, we'll discuss all about that. But integration runtime is what? In simple terms, if you want to connect some external services with your cloud and ADF, you require that integration runtime. How do you integrate? There will be some mechanism between that. So that is a different process. Now, understand what all components are discussed. Dataset, linked service, activity, pipeline, trigger. So if you understand this mechanism, if you understand this logic, ADF is very easy to go. People confuse themselves inside this components itself. Now, there is a component called as data flow. I mean, you cannot call it as a component. It is an automated process, data flow. Data flows in ADF are different. Data flow in Power BI service is different. So do not get confused with both of them. Data flow in Power BI service is your Power Query. Any questions on the components of ADF?
So for each data set, we have for the pipeline, we have the separate this one.
Yeah. I mean, for every connection, you will have a separate data set and separate link service.
Every connection, we have the separate linked service.
Yeah. Separate data set. Right? If you want to connect one database, you will have a different data set. If you want to connect a different database, you will have one more data set. Linked services. See, you can share that linked service. I mean, for 100 data sets, 100 linked services will be very difficult. So what you can do, you can have a master key, right? For if you have 5 or 6 cupboards in your house also, you can have one master key for that cupboard, right? Similarly, in ADF also, for multiple data sets, you want to access it via only one link service, right? Creating 5, 6 link services will be very difficult to understand which link service is correct or wrong. If something goes wrong, or if I want to update something, right, it will be very difficult. So in that case, you can use a master link service. Now that master link service can be utilized parameters. That will be discussed. That is high level ADF. That will be end of ADF. But yeah, that possibility is also there.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions with respect to components of ADF? Anyone still has a dilemma, that, okay, I didn't understood what all these components are. Please feel free to ask, because see, once we jump into the logics, once we jump into pipelines, then again coming back and discussing this will be very difficult, right? It will be very difficult to process also. So try to understand what all these components are. Recall it, right? If you're learning it for the very first time, these components will not be by-hearted by yourself. So it will take some time, will take some few days or few weeks to understand. So recall these components on an everyday basis. ADF components. Link service, start with dataset first, because dataset at the start, right? Source and destination dataset, source and destination link service. Then there is a activities with all connection from end, start to end is your pipeline. And there is a trigger. Data flows, integration, runtimes are within ADF. We will discuss afterwards. Right, so let me go back. Now, first thing is, if you see here, everything from start to end is connected via pipeline. So pipeline is at the highest level of hierarchy, not dataset. Pipeline is highest level. After pipeline, dataset, linked service, activity, all these processes will come. So pipeline is at the highest level because it is from start to end, right? Everything is managed. Pipeline will hold all these components with its complete start to end. It will hold all this information. If you go to the ADF, in the author tab where the development happens, you will get an option here, pipelines. I mean, there are no pipelines. That's the reason it is blank. So I have to click on this option. On this plus icon, see, it is giving me option here. If I click on this pipeline, it will create a pipeline for us. So this is the activity tab. This is your development. If I minimize this, this is your development. This white space, this is where you need to develop your logic. So this is your pipeline, right? If I open this properties tab again, you can rename whatever name of that pipeline you want. You can give a name to that specific pipeline. Now I will start with test pipeline. So I'm just giving you an idea. How does it look like? Test pipeline, I'll minimize it. If I click on this properties tab, it will maximize. And if I click it, it will minimize. It will go away. So this is where you need to develop. Now, there are no data sets, there are no activities, there are no linked services. So what I want to do is, our same logic from one data set to different data set, I want to copy the data. Some data I want to move. So what I want to move, I want to copy some data. So there is an activity called as copy activity. For that logic, there is an activity called as copy activity. So these are, see, if you search, you can search all the activities, and there is this option called as expand all activities. It will expand all the activities, and every activity is grouped in one some summarization, right? Move and transform. That means this belongs to this criterion. Copy and data flow belongs to move and transform category. So there are different categories in which every activity is combined. So I want to do the copy activity, right? So how do you do this copy here inside this white space? You need, once you click, once you hover your mouse on this copy, you need to drag this. This copy data will come here. So if you see, it is asking source and sink. If I click on source, it is asking me data set. What is your source data? What is your sink data? So I have to give. So let me click on data set. Now, what is our data set? What is our source? If our source is SQL, from one SQL to another SQL, I want to move. See, in order to connect to that SQL, it is asking me linked service. That means your key to connect that linked service. What we discussed, everything we can see it here. So once you create a pipeline, it will ask you to create an activity. From that activity, it will ask you what is your source and destination. And once you're trying to create your data set, again, if you want to connect to that data set, it will ask you to create a linked service. So how a link service should be, if I click on this, I want to create a new link service. See, here you can provide server name. Here you can provide database name. Our source is your SQL. And here you can provide your password, right? What is link service? Key mechanism, key information, username, password can be stored. If you do not want to directly give username and password, because if you store your password here, anyone can see, right? But if I mention any password, it is hidden. Still, you can view it, right? Even though it is hidden, there is this icon, right? You can view it. So if you want to make sure that I don't want to share password publicly, there is a standalone service along with ADF, which combines with ADF, which is Azure Key Vault. Key Vault will not share the password, but it will share a variable. In Power BI, if you want to write a complex DAX, we use a variable, right? Variable A, and you can store some information with this. So what is Key Vault is, Key Vault will have a variable like this, and it will store that key credentials. So rather than accessing this credential, you can access this variable. Variable holds this value. Something you will get. May not be, if it's a very first day, it is difficult, but something you are able to grasp it, right? This is all about cloud. The more you learn cloud, the better you will be getting inside this cloud services. And cloud is everything going further. If you do not mention cloud in 2025 or even from 2026, if you want to start, without cloud in your resume, there is a very high chance that your resume will never get shortlisted. You should mention one cloud, any of the cloud. I'm not talking about Azure own, any cloud. Right, so we have seen activity, pipeline. A pipeline can have only one activity also. A pipeline can have more than one activity. See, you will never see. You will have a question, where is this pipeline? There is no pipeline, right? Okay, we have created a pipeline, but there is pipeline means what we know from source to destination, it is connected, right? There is only one logic between that, right? Source and destination, which is copy. But along with copy, you have some other logics. Maybe I have a different logic, right? There is a general, maybe I have a logic called as delete logic. You can have a delete logic here and you can connect it. This is your pipeline, right? This is your pipeline. It looks like a pipeline. Pipeline doesn't mean there are two activities. There can be one activity inside a pipeline also. There can be only one activity inside a pipeline. And we have seen pipeline, we have seen activity, we have seen data set, we have seen linked service. Where are triggers? Here are the triggers. The option which is next to trigger is your debug. This debug is your manual run. You want to manually run the logic, manually run the pipeline. But if you click on trigger, you need to click on new trigger. You can create a trigger at what time you want to run this trigger. You can schedule that time and under which time zone. If you want to run this pipeline within start date and end date, you can specify, right? I only want to run this pipeline for 2 days. You can specify an end date and you can click on OK. An automated trigger will be created for this pipeline. So all the components which we discussed, we have gone through an example and we have seen how these components are available in ADF.
Hello, hi Ritesh.
Shashank,
I have one question. What is the minimum recurrency?
can you repeat your question? Your voice
What
very
is the
low.
minimum recurrency like? At what is the minimum time we can like schedule the trigger? Like whether it is in
See,
1
you're
minute, like
directly
every
jumping. You're
minutes or
directly jumping to the trigger now. The
um,
question is, what is trigger we discussed? There are multiple triggers, or there is only not one trigger. These many triggers are there. We will discuss all this. Recurrency is what you have so many options. You want to run only once per month, also you can run that pipeline on a particular date. Once in a month, once in a week, once in a day, or after every 1 hour you want to run. Still, you have so many options. We have just started, right? Why are you directly jumping to the conclusion? We'll go through that. Any questions? We are good for today, right? We discussed most of the things related to ADF. We have just started it, but within 5 or 10 minutes, we have seen that components, how that components are used for, what that components are used for, and how that how that components are available in ADF. And whatever you create in ADF, you have to publish it. That means you have to save. And if I save this, it will throw an error because I haven't selected source, I haven't selected destination, I haven't mentioned link service, nothing I've selected. So it will not get saved. Until and unless everything is correctly mentioned, it will not publish or get saved. So you have all the mechanism available inside ADF. So go back, understand what is data center, how the information is stored, what is the benefit of that region while creating any subscription. Subscription can be created under any region, right? See, the most important part is if I go to the subscription, subscription is created at any point. So there is no assets region for a subscription. But if I go to resource group, under this resource group is created at South India. But under this resource group, there is service called as ADF. This is created at Central India. That is how flexible the ADF is. You create wherever you want, even if that resource is present under the resource group, which is in South India. Ideally, this resource should have been in the South India only, right? Because this is under one group. No, you can create a resource at whatever location you want, even though it is not matching with that group. Whereas if you go to Fabric, there is no option called as how to create ADF because already Fabric is created. Fabric itself is a service. So how do you create a pipeline? You need to click on this data pipeline. Your workspace should be Fabric supported. It will ask you what should be the name of pipeline like this, right? Whenever I click on new pipeline, it is the name of that pipeline, right? Similarly, it is asking me the name of pipeline in Fabric. Right, so test pipeline. You give whatever name you want. Create. So it will open that same author tab here, the same which you have got in the ADF, but the author tab is not that easy, right? The UI is very complex here. Now it is asking me some activity. Let me click on activity. I want to copy only. I'll start with copy. See, here's this and this. Same, right? Nothing different. But one advantage is if you go to this, you will get an activity tab. So you can expand all the activities. Whichever activity you want, you can use that. Whereas Fabric, activities are kept here, in the above. Don't get confused. These are all the activities. Now there is this activity tab here. See, these are the activities. Now, very limited activities, right? No, you have to click here. Something like this you will get, and here you will get all the activities. So from the UI perspective, it is not that easy. And you also have a monitor tab here. Yeah, you can monitor. But this monitor is not only for Fabric. This is for Power BI also. If I click on monitor, everything will come. Because Fabric is a combination of multiple components. Right? Fabric is a combination of multiple components. So you can select source, destination, right? Same way. More. Here, see the names, understand. If I click on source here, it is asking me to create a data set. So what is the data set? You need to select, right? What is your data set? Maybe I'm selecting SQL Server. Right. Let me mention SQL. I can easily filter, right? If I'm mentioning SQL Server, connect. It will ask you linked service. If I go back to the Fabric, this is our SQL Server. This is your linked service. There is no mentioning of linked service. But wherever you mention your username and password is your linked service, right? It's almost similar, nothing different. The only thing is the names are not matching, right? There is no linked service, there is no data set. Fabric, new product. It behaves like that. But one and the same. Use that how would I explain this is if I'm explaining it here, parallelly I can explain it in the Fabric also, right? We can connect that same process, same component here. I'll take a pause. We are good for today. Any questions with respect to this course? Who have joined for the very first time? Anyone who have joined for the very first time today? Okay. Silence is no, that means you might have joined or you might have gone through previous sessions.
Hello.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, Ritesh. For a person who don't know about the ADF and Fabric, then what would be the best approach? Like to
Okay.
learn, go with the
If you
flow, or
only learn SQL and Power BI, you're trying to say?
no. Like uh, both the things are new. So what can we need to proceed? I guess you explained, but I just missed that. So can you please elaborate in
If
short?
you're very new, the first thing which I've said is without cloud, your resume is of no use. The reason why we are learning cloud is Power BI has certain limitations with respect to ETL, some data storages. For that, you need to use cloud. And again, I'm trying to reiterate, if at all there is no mentioning of cloud in your resume, then it's very difficult. I mean, it's very difficult to get shortlisted. So you mention a cloud, your resume availability or resume possible selection cases increases. One thing. And the other thing is ADF is a powerful ETL. As compared to Power Query, cannot handle this much amount of data. This much means some 1 GB, 2 GB, Power Query will slow down. It will become so slow that it will impact the performance. So whatever transformations you want to do, you do it in ADF and you connect it with the Power BI. Right? So that is one benefit. And learning cloud is always advantage, right? Not only ADF, you have so many services in cloud. You learn, try to explore that services. You will get good idea. And same goes with Fabric, right? Fabric itself is a part and parcel of a cloud. Why people are learning Fabric is Fabric, everything is combined in the Fabric. So from a data analyst point of view, whatever components are important in Fabric, we can go through that. And again, I'm reiterating, this is all live. Companies will ask you, I want a person who's good in Fabric. Once you start implementing in Fabric, you can showcase them that there are many limitations. Company itself will show you, or they themselves will ask, they'll question themselves whether the Fabric is beneficial for us or not. End of the day, after 6 months, they are moving to the Azure. So Fabric is good, but it is not the best. It will take some time. And I've been saying this since last 2 years. There is no such difference, but When Fabric was introduced, many services in Fabric were not completely available. There were only 5 to 10 services. Now it has increased to 30. So going ahead, Fabric will develop, but it will still take time to be utilized inside a production or full-time environment. Any other questions?
Can you guide us how to create a free trial account Azure?
Very good. What I've said on the day 4, I'll let you know.
Only. Okay.
On the day 4, I'll let you know. So what we discussed, only if you go through recordings also, that is more than enough for day 3, even for today. From tomorrow, I'll explain you again. For creating a free trial, you need a credit card. Without credit card, it is not possible. And one thing, it will not debit anything from your credit card for 1 month. After 1 month, you can close that. You can delete all the services. You can delete subscription itself. Even that possibility. But without credit card, you cannot activate. So make sure you have one credit card. Why credit card is required? Because after 1 month, if there are any charges incurring, it will be auto debited. It will not be auto debited from your credit card on daily basis. It is monthly basis. If you're using services after 1 month, 1 month means you might have started on 1st of every month. 30th of every month, a bill will be generated. You will get 6 or 7 days of time to pay that bill. It is like your credit card bill cycle. So credit card is just for verification. Once you verified, it will give you 200 credits, $200 for 1 month, which is more than enough for any practice which we will be doing. Fabric, you will be shared credentials. One who have already are part of Power BI, you already have that credentials. You activate, you change, you create a workspace. Try to create a separate workspace. Do not use that Power BI workspace again. Try to create a separate workspace and use that Fabric trial. And you can go ahead and create whatever you want in that Fabric workspace, like your pipeline, warehouse, lakehouse. I mean, there are many other services, data flows. You can go ahead and create that.
So is there any interview question come from component?
Yeah. I'll share that.
Hello.
There will be interview questions, right? They'll ask you an
Yeah.
interview question, what all triggers are, how many types of triggers are, how many types of integration runtime. This is also one of the frequently asked questions. What all activities you have used in your ADF? I mean, every activity has its own behavior and logic. So we will be discussing on that activities as well.
Yeah, and also can you short by step this component for better
Which script
understanding?
you are trying to say?
Like can you short this component step? Like
I've sorted, right? Pipeline is one, activity is one.
yeah.
Trigger, I can keep it at the last if you want.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, I don't have any credit card, so can I arrange somebody else credit
Yeah,
card?
you can. See, credit card is not that it will verify whether it's yours or not. You can add some other person. But see, one thing, whenever you're activating credit card with that credit card, one who wants to join this course only, please try to activate. Do not mess up with that. Right? By chance you mess up and your the $200 credits are gone. And then you come up to me, you ask me a question that, okay, I have been charged so much amount. For that reason, I'll let you know how to activate. Activation of Azure portal is very, very important process. You have to understand each and every step. By chance, if you miss one of the step and you randomly create anything, it will charge you. I mean, it will first deduct from the $200 credits only. After that, it will charge you. So it's a very small process, but I'll explain it step after step. Do not get confused. You can use any other's credit card. No option for debit card. Again, I'll explain it tomorrow, but there is no option for debit card. I do not have credit card. You have to get it from somewhere. It is just for verification purpose. It will debit 2 rupees and it will credit back that 2 rupees again. Just for
That
verification.
means we are closing the subscription before the month.
Yeah. I'll let you know, right? If you're activating it today, you can close it on the same day next month, right? Today is 23rd. You can close it on 22nd.
Okay.
22nd of July. Right?
There will be no charges then.
No charges. See, you can see how many charges are there, how many credits are available, how many credits are gone. Everything can be monitored in Azure portal.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi Ritesh,
Go ahead.
can you share me Power BI interview questions, any PDF or anything?
We shared it in the group, it seems. Second, you're already part of that group, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
can you share it again, please? Means I unable to see in that group actually.
Can you go to group? Can you go to files? Open that files, you will get the 8 PDFs. You can download it. If you have, see, whichever PDFs I'm sharing, try to download it. Maybe if you do not open it now, also once you can open it once the end of the course. I might have shared that PDFs with the recordings as well. Let me see.
It
Not be
got
sure.
actually it got missed for me. Can you share it again, please?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. Need not worry. This is a new version. I might have shared with the recordings also. I'll reshare it. Do not worry on that.
Yeah, hi Ritesh.
Go ahead.
Ritesh, I have posted that WPL dataset query. So can you check what?
Uh-huh. Okay, I have checked. Okay, the question. So what was the question? How do you create a data model, right?
Yeah, actually, all the files are like there is no connection between each and every file.
So
Like
can you
batting.
go ahead and create two separate reports or two separate pages rather? One single report, a separate page for batting and separate page for bowling, right? We have two data sets, right? It seems.
Yeah, two data sets. One for actually there are three. One batting, second bowling, third one is others. So in
Mm-hmm.
batting there are a lot of Excel files like
Mm-hmm.
CSV files.
Mm-hmm.
So for combining all those Excel or CSV files, there was no like unique
Append.
primary key.
Append is not working there.
Yeah, for append the columns and the both should be same, right?
Okay. Okay. Let me again go through it.
Yeah, maybe if you can check
Yeah.
that data set, you will find.
Okay. I'll go through it and anyways I've gone through it, but I thought maybe you can create separate for batting, separate for bowling. Let me again go through it.
If it is a single sheet for batting and
It is
bowling,
not single sheet, it is
ah,
multiple
ah,
sheet only. Yeah. So
yeah,
that you
that's
have
right.
to think, right? How do we create it? But anyways, I'll go through.
Yeah.
Hello, Ritesh.
Good. Yeah, Weber.
Yeah. Like till now, what are the syllabus we covered?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any process to evaluate ourselves based on our studies or something like that, or any mock kind of test or something?
For Power BI, right?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can go ahead and proceed with some mock interviews. I'll check and I'll update you.
Okay. Sure. Thanks.
Has anyone created that reports? The and prior to WPL also there were some two reports, right? The RPS and that LATRO. Has anyone created that? Complete reports. No one? Even if you create it wrong, the question is, have you created it or not? See, if you have created it, try to share. The reason why am I not sharing this? I want you people to go back and share. I can share it today also. The question here is, I want you people to practice. right? So if you're directly jumping to WPL, why not practice on these two first, right? We discussed more about these two. WPL, yes, I can explain you. I know because you need to create two separate pages for batting and bowling. Both are disconnected, no connection. With the help of index column, we need to create a relationship. We need to create an index column. We need to create a relationship. That is one possible way. There are many ways, but yeah, let's explore that as well. But prior jumping to that, why not work on lateral? Why not work on that RBS? Anyways, take your time, practice it, go through what we discussed. The ADF. Right, let's connect back tomorrow. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.